Hello and welcome to the third part of the 18th tutorial about Simple Snake game. As I promised, now we're going to implement the tail to the snake. We currently have this implemented, so we can move, eat the fruit changes the location, we eat more fruits, the score increases, and if we hit the wall, the game ends. So let's add the tail. The tail is maybe a little bit complicated to understand at first because the tail is consisted of a few segments. For example, if this is our head and we have these segments, so we have 4 tail segments, and when we move the snake, for example, if the O moves down, the head moves down, the tail should follow. So in the first step it will look like this. In the second step the snake will look like this while moving down. So basically this segment of the tail is going to have the previous coordinates of the head, and all previous segments will have the coordinates of their segments that were in front of them. So the snake will look like that, and then it will look like that while moving down. If we move right, this will move like this. And so if it moves right, this will increase, and as you may guess, it will look like this. So the first segment follows the head, the second segment follows the first segment, this third segment follows the second segment, the last segment follows the third segment, and so on. Until we have it. So we need to have 2 arrays. The first array is going to be the x coordinate of the tail, and the second array is going to be y coordinate of the tail, and they are going to go in pairs. So the first, we're going to create it. It's going to be int tail x. And for example, it will have 100, maximum of 100 elements in this array, and tail y is going to also have 100. Also, we need one int value that is going to be called nTail, and it will specify the length of the tail. So we know for how long should be run the for loop in order to print all the segments and of the tail and to check if there's a collision. So if so we made this. If we let's start implementing the tail, and what should we do? So if we in the logic part, if we eat the fruit, we are going to increase the tail. So let's do this. Let's increase the tail of the snake by 1. And in the logic part, on the top of the logic part, we are going to remember the previous x coordinate of the tail of the first segment of the tail x, and previous y coordinate of the tail, first element of the tail. Also, we're going to have prev2 x and prev2 y, and you're going to see in a moment why we need them. And this is how are we going to print the to move the tail. We're going to print it afterwards. So I is going to be equal to from 1 because we already have the first one. and it's going to go to the length of the tail. The for loop will go from 1 to, for example, if the tail is 2, if the tail is 3, it will go 1, 2, and it will end. Now we're gonna remember in these values the current position of our segment. So the first segment, the second segment, we're going to remember its position in these two variables, and now we're gonna change them to the prev x and to the prev y. And now we're gonna update the prev x to prev 2x and prev y to prev 2y. And it's gonna be clear in a moment what this does. When we run the program, there's a tail, but you don't see it currently because we don't draw it. So we need to draw it. We're gonna go up a little bit, and here where we draw the fruit, on the else, we're gonna open our curly brackets, and we are going to create a for loop for int k is going to 0, and the k is going to be the length of the tail. K plus plus. So we are going through every element of our tail and going to draw it. So if tail x k is equal to our current x coordinate that we're printing, and the tail y is equal to our current y coordinate, we are going to print our tail, and we're gonna print the space. So when we run our program now, it will work, but it will have some very difficult consequences. As you see, it doesn't actually work as we want it to. It prints our tail somewhere else, and that's not good. We need to add a boolean variable that will keep track whether we printed the I'm gonna call it print, and it will be false, whether we printed the head the tail segment or we didn't print the tail segment. And when we print it, we say the print is equal to true, and here if the print if we didn't print the segment, and this should go here, if you didn't print the segment, we are going to print blank space. So this should work now, but actually we're gonna try it. Oh yeah, as I thought, we don't print any blank spaces now, and that can cause a problem in our program. So we can move, but as you can see, you don't see the movement left, right, or anything else, and that we should move this up because we need the print in after every row, and this should go out, and now it should print good. Yeah, it prints good, but as you can see, it still doesn't, our tail doesn't follow us, and probably the error is in the logic part now. And that's because we need to set the first tail x, tail x, the first element, to follow the head. So the tail y should follow the head. And now when we move our snake, as you can see, it follows. So we actually made a simple snake game in C++. And I guess it's not larger than 160 lines of code, but we're gonna check that in a moment. I'm just playing a little bit. It works, but we cannot kill ourselves. So as you can see, we can go through our tail. It only works on the wall. As you can see, there's a bug if you go in the direction that we aren't supposed to go. So I go down. There's a bug while printing. And we should fix those things. The first thing that we're gonna do, let's see, it's 144 lines. We're going to check we're going to check here in the logic part if we hit ourselves or our tail with the head. It's similar to the wall. Just we're going to loop through all tail segments. And we're going to check if tail x, the current tail x segment, is equal to x, and the current tail y segment is equal to our head coordinates. And if that is the case, then we're gonna turn the game off. It will be a game over. I don't like this indentation. So let's run it. And we're gonna collect some fruits. As you can see, it works. How can we check if we can kill ourselves by going into the tail? Let's try it now. Oh, yeah. The game terminates when we hit our tail. So that's basically it. You made a simple snake game. You can polish it a little bit, add a sleep function, for example, if you want to slow down the game a little bit. Probably on some faster CPUs it's gonna run faster, so in order to add the sleep, you should, if you're on Windows, you should include windows.h library, and this will work. If you're in Linux, you should use the sleep command. As you can see, it will go a little bit slower, but it will flicker more. On some CPUs, on some computers, it will flicker more. It all depends on how fast your CPU is. So that's it. As you can see, the snake game is complete. It works. You can move around, you can kill yourself, you have score. You can change the characters of the walls and of the snake head and tail and fruit if you don't like them. You can add some bonus things. The code isn't big at all. It's simple to understand. Maybe it's a little bit complicated in the printing section because we have 3-4 loops, one in another, but if you have questions, you can post them in the comments. I will try to clarify it the much as I can. And one fun thing that I like in the snake games is that we can add in the logic part, instead of hitting the wall and the game is over, we can check if, for example, if we went right, if we go right, the game doesn't, the game won't terminate, but we go from the left side. You're gonna see it's a simple code snippet. It's not that hard. So if x is larger or equal to the width, then the x is gonna be 0. Else if the x is smaller than 0, x is gonna be equal to width minus 1. And this we're gonna do this for the y coordinates, and I'm gonna change it only height. and we're going to comment this section. So we will not get the game over if we hit the wall. Rather than that, we are going to go through a wall and exit on the other side of the wall. It's cooler than the regular Snake game, and it still follows, the tail still follows you, and it looks very nice, as you can see. And then the only thing that can kill you is your tail, but this gives more fun to the game, as you can exit from one side, you can go here, and then I know you can do almost anything. But please note that you are limited. Oh, we have a bug, as you can see. I didn't change this. I changed only the y coordinate. I changed only the x coordinate in both cases. So, quick bug fix, and now the game will be complete. Totally, as you can see, works perfectly. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.